Hi, Cliff Pierce.
Hi, Bob Mary.
Hi, Joe Perry.
Hi, Robert Snow.
Hi, Dave Peterson.
Call for a motion to for a joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. All those in favor? By roll call vote.
Aye, Bernard Cullen.
Aye, Mark Emery.
Okay, both boards are now in a joint meeting status in open session, and we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I call for motion to go into executive session to discuss the following: to discuss strategies with respect to collective bargaining with the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, AFL, CIO, Council 93, Local 2905, pursuant to State Open Meeting Law, General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3. Because an open meeting will have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the Board of Water Commissioners, and to return to open session.
Keep that motion to go into executive session.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to go into executive session by roll call vote.
Hi, Robert Mary.
Hi, Cliff Pierce.
Aye, Joe Perry.
Hi, Robert Snow.
Hi, Dave Peterson.
Okay, we're back in open session. And the first order of business, we had a election on Tuesday, May 8th, and the first selectmen's meeting after the election is generally, the first order of business is a reorganization of the board, where we elect a chairman, a vice chairman, and a clerk.
Yay!
Really going
Who's gonna jump in the pool first?
I would like to continue for Pine Grove for another year.
Well, that's separate from.
No,
Chairman of the Board of
yeah,
Selectmen.
no, the reason why I'd like to continue on as chair is because of the Pine Grove.
Well, but I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you don't have to be chairman of the Board of Selectmen or to be chairman of the Pine Grove Committee, so. I
Okay.
mean, you could, even if you decide to step down, I think you could remain as chairman of the committee, and I think people would want you to do that.
So the past 8 years, I can say I was 4 years as chair, and then we passed it to Bob for 2 years, and then Joe for 2 years. So I think, personally, I think it's a good idea, 2 years to change off. Joe's done a really good job,
Absolutely.
but, I think it's good to swap off. There's a lot of pressure with the job, I know, personally. That's my feeling. My feeling is go to somebody else for another 2 years.
I agree with you. I think for the good of the board, it's a good practice to, after 1 or 2 years, to switch it off to someone else who's willing.
But not detract for anything that Joe's done.
No,
Joe has
absolutely
done an exemplary job.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I've got, this is my 13th year on the board, with broken time in between the various times I've been there. I was chair for 4 years out of the previous time. I don't want to be chair. I'm involved in too many other things at this point. But I kind of agree. I think it's a good idea to change, have some rotation. And it's nothing against Joe's done an excellent job in the last 2 years. He's very active. He goes to all kinds of meetings and functions as chairman. Cliff, I know you've been on the board now for 3 years, 3 years. So, I mean, you're well qualified to be chair. So it's kind of like, I have no problem with Joe. I think if you want to be chair, I don't think Bob Snow wants it.
If the board wanted me to take the position, I would take the position, okay?
And I don't
That's-
think, Bob, Mary, you're not interested, right?
Well, I mean, it's, depends on what you want to do, but
Okay, so, well, you know, everybody's looking at me. No, I would, I think maybe it's time just to swap it around. I think most
Would
of
you
the,
like to serve as chair?
I mean, I would like to be chair at some point. It doesn't have to be this year, but, I mean, no one else really wants it this year. I mean, so.
Have a motion?
I know I'm out.
Want to make a motion? To appoint
Cliff,
Selectman?
would you like to be chair? Would you? I mean, I've
Would you, Bob?
The board wanted it, only if the board wanted it, okay? Because I understand the position, I was there for 4 years, okay? But I also, you know, Cliff, I served under you, okay, when you were on the planning board, exemplary job on the planning board as chair, okay? So I know your qualifications and what you can do, okay? I've seen you in action. So I have no problem if you wish to be chair.
I'll make a motion.
I would make a motion, Cliff, to be chair. Do you want to be chair? That's the,
At some point I do. I mean,
at some point, you don't feel like you want to do it this year?
well, if no one else really wants it this year, then I guess this is my
You
year.
want to throw you in the pool. So,
Do you have a second?
They're tough choices.
yeah, it is.
Right, no, at some point, I would like to, either this year or next year.
I make a motion that Cliff be chairman of the board.
I'm willing to second it, but I do want to say, Joe, you've done
Yes.
an excellent job in the last 2 years, and we wouldn't anticipate that you would drop off the school building committee. You put many, many hours into that committee and done an exemplary job.
Yes.
And I think the committee would want him to stay on.
Yeah, absolutely. So, same thing, I do the police station committee, and I would expect that I would be able to stay on that till that building is completed. So, on that basis, with the congratulations to Joe for the fine work he has done,
Appreciate that.
I would second the motion for Cliff.
Motion has been made and seconded to appoint Cliff Pierce as the new chairman of the board. All those in favor say aye.
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 Staying.
Congratulations, I think.
Thank you, guys.
I would nominate Joe to be vice chair, because I think he can give Cliff a good hand, and Joe can remain very active, I'm sure, in the activities he's been involved in as vice chair. I think he would do an excellent job for the board and for the town. in
I'd
that
second
position.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded to appoint me as vice chair. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Abstain. Clerk?
I'll move we appoint Bob Snow as clerk.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to appoint Bob Snow as clerk. What's up?
Stop.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations, Bob.
Might be a good idea to wait till next week.
We do it this,
Oh, okay. I didn't know
or you
the
want to take a
board.
recess, or you?
Well, no, I didn't
Or do we
know.
wait till next
We have a
week? I
new
don't know
chairman
if
now, effective
you're
immediately.
technically
Oh.
available.
But if he would like to
Move that
relinquish
plaque.
the meeting to the chairman, that's fine, to have him run, to the
What's that?
vice, if you'd like to have the vice chairman run the meeting,
Oh,
that's
okay.
okay, but
Is that the chairman's decision?
it's your decision.
I will delegate this to you to run this meeting, if that's okay with you.
That's fine.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, we have a 7 o'clock appointment, and Mr. Joseph Perry, Chairman, Board of Selectmen, 139 Main Street, PO Box 275, Raleigh, Mass, regarding request for MVPC technical assistance Honorable Chairman Perry, the Conservation Department requests authorization to engage the services of the Merrimack Valley Planning Commission for approximately 4 hours of technical work to create the Dodge Reservation Trail Map. The recent Earth Day service project substantially completed the trail network on the Dodge Reservation Conservation Area located at 3390 Weathersfield Street, map 18, parcel lot 7. Recently, though, the volunteer efforts of the Commissioner Daniel Shinnick, the GPS coordinates have been recorded, and with the support of the Conservation Commission providing trail markers, the trail network has been cleared. Since the public is encouraged to enjoy passive recreational use of the property for hiking and nature study, I would request the Board of Selectmen's permission to contract MVPC to create a trail map for the purpose of public safety and outreach. Please advise me if I may be of further assistance. Sincerely, Brent Bazelak, Conservation Agent, Rowley Conservation Commission. Brent?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair Perry, and recently elected Chairman Pierce, and members of the board. Brent Bazelak, serving as Conservation Agent for a little while now. Thank you very much. Earth Day, we had a marvelous turnout of approximately 26 individuals, which helped us address substantial issues on Dodge Reservation because of all the trees that got knocked down, as well as completing what we believe for the time being should be the consummation of the public use trail network on the property. I believe I was able to provide you with a map, again acknowledging our newest commissioner, Daniel Shinnick, who also his career, but plus his application and volunteer interest in GPSing and trail mapping, put together a map which shows you the thought process was to provide multiple loops for folks willing to hike the Dodge Reservation. It's a fair piece to go from Weathersfield Street to Haverhill Street. So the thought was to provide multiple opportunities for loops depending on how far a person wanted to meander for the day. If they wanted to just meander for a half mile, if they wanted to do 3/4 of a mile, if they wanted to do a mile, or if they wanted to go for the whole enchilada and go for 2.5 miles, they could, with having opportunities that they didn't always have to backtrack on the same section of trail. As well as there's also a different aspect to the character of the woods where there's a footpath as opposed to where you have the old homestead woods road or a cart path as they were colloquially called back in the early days. So through Mr. Shinnick's efforts, we're able to provide the data that normally would take Merrimack Valley Planning Commission a number of hours to gather using their GPS equipment. He volunteered, and also his employer lent a unit that I was able to assist with at one point. So we've collected the data that one needs in order to be able to do the mapping, and therefore the request to Merrimack Valley Planning Commission for technical assistance is less than what we needed to do to finish off the Hunsley Hills trail work, which you may remember a number of years ago we were able to finalize that.
Very good.
And so I'm hoping that I'll have the selectmen's approval tonight so that we can engage the services of Merrimack Valley Planning Commission to prepare a trail map that then will allow us to have electronic version as well as printed versions, and ultimately will allow us to finalize and put some markers out so that a person will not only have the trail map but able to reference where they are on the property at various points in time. And not that there's usually a problem with getting lost out there, but sometimes you could potentially get turned around and not realize what your orientation is, and so a map is always very helpful.
One quick question, is there, each of these trails has an indication of how far? In other words, if I start at the Y camp, Do I know if I take X trail, it'll be 1.5 miles versus 2 miles?
We are going to prepare a little chart, and it's exactly what we did with Hunsley Hills, is we prepared a reference point to give folks an idea, well, for exactly the purposes that I mentioned. So they could make a decision as to whether they just needed a granola bar and a bottle of water, whether they needed a sandwich, an apple, a granola bar, and a bottle of water for what they were about to get into for, spending some time in the woods.
But these hours are already available to the town, right? So we don't have to pay extra for.
Yes, I believe so. I believe my understanding, but I never delved into the technical details, was that as a member of NVPC, there was a certain allotment of technical assistance hours.
I'll give you a motion to approve the request.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the request to ask Merrimack Valley Planning Commission to do the pictometry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thanks, Brent.
Thank you very much.
Did a good job out there. And thank you in addition for the work you did during Earth Day for the picking up trash and stuff like that you do every year. I don't know if you've done it yet.
I'm working on it.
That's all right. Every year you go out, you and your wife, I know, help you out, and makes a big difference for the town, and we appreciate that, believe me.
We do.
A lot of trash out there, people.
This year, it was a day and a half with my wife and I chainsawing to get Smith Lane open
Yeah,
to
with the
go in
the
there
winter we had.
to do the trail work. So, a lot of tree tops were snapped off. So.
Just an announcement, people watching, that if they can take their trash home instead of throwing it out the side of the road or along the trails, that would certainly be appreciated, because there is a lot of trash out there.
I'm going to put in a good word for the folks that utilize our trail network, because I can personally attest that I very seldom have to walk out with anything. I believe people are very respectful of our conservation property, and the trail networks usually hardly yield anything at all. In fact, I'm usually more likely to stumble upon a beverage container rising to the surface as the frost pushes it up
The old
through
days.
the decomposing leaves. So,
Okay,
All right, thank you.
Brian, as soon as I got, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
As soon as I got the request, I'll forward it, being the MVPC representative.
okay.
Just two announcements that this meeting is being audio and video recorded by the Raleigh Community Media, and it is being broadcast live. And also we will have public comment for the next 5
I do have a deed,
minutes.
but is it not for them?
Okay, thank you. We
I
have,
actually have a second
Yeah.
piece of business, I hope.
yes, you do. I have you on the agenda for the deed to Meadow Lanes, parcel W and parcel X.
Can you just bring up your copy, Brent?
Certainly.
It's not, Mr. Chairman, Brent has the deed right here.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't know whether you folks had a packet or not.
Quick claim deed, do you want me to read this into the record, or?
I don't think you need to unless you
Oh,
want to.
okay.
If I may,
No?
This is for
Okay.
the parcels that we were just voted on at the town meeting, and Mr. Beza can explain it further.
Okay.
yeah, if I may,
Yes.
for the board, as a way of background information, there was a project called the Meadows at Stony Brook. I believe the time period was roughly in the early 90s, I think 1995 maybe, somewhere around there.
It was
But-
earlier than that.
Pardon me?
I think it was earlier.
Was it earlier than that?
Doesn't matter.
Anyway, it was a little while ago. And there were sections of the entire parcel that were judged to be of a more significant open space value also had a high percentage of wetland resource areas on them, specifically at the beginning of the development, not the exact frontage onto Haverhill Street, but where the developer's roadway made sort of a couple little French curves going in. So 2 parcels, the concept, there were 5 total parcels. These are the 2 that have the most significant value for open space protection. They have a small connection to the state park, DCR's park, Prospect Hill. They have a large percentage of wetland resource areas consisting of streams, forested wetlands. They also utilized a kind of forward-thinking stormwater treatment system with a constructed pond that does part of the cleaning of the roadway runoff located on the parcel. And so the 2 parcels that are contiguous and both have frontage onto Meadows Lane and therefore are capable of at least having some public access. It won't be significant because of the amount of wetlands that are in there, but there are some areas right along Meadows Lane as it goes in that are capable of being walked on without you getting your feet wet. So they could at least be viewed and enjoyed for their habitat value, bird life, etc. And so there was an intention that these parcels be preserved for open space, but it only got as far as the developer deeding these parcels to the town. So the commission, through the requests on the town warrant, as well as talking to the Board of Selectmen here and communicating to the planning board, is making a request to fulfill the full protection for open space value by transferring to the care and custody of the Conservation Commission. Yeah.
I'll give you a motion, Mr. Chairman, to sign the deed.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to sign the deed. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
And it just so happens I brought the notary along with me.
Yes. Thank you.
And may I respectfully request your signature? In regards to my ledger. Mr. Chair. On behalf of the Conservation Commission, Mr. Rowley, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you and for all you do.
Okay. We have a 7:15 appointment, Diane Manahan of Nightshade Events to discuss music event and permit on August 25th, 2018 at 239 Main Street.
Actually, I have an updated folder for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen, for giving me the time to see me tonight. So, my name is Diane Manahan, and I own a business in Salem that I've had for 16 years. It's a gourmet wine and cheese shop, and I also have an event planning business as well. I've been coming up to Rowley for years. I'm at Todd Farm usually every Sunday, and I really enjoy the area. So for quite some time, I've dreamt up the idea of doing a one-day family-friendly event at one of the farms in the area. And I came across the barn at Bread Street Farm through my internet search and thought it was a really lovely spot. Love the history of the area, the fact that it's the second oldest barn in America. So I've put together a plan to hold an event called the Mill River Shine. So we plan on having activities for kids as well as live music, locally sourced, farm fresh food, and local artisans. This is really about, the Rowley Ipswich area. I do have agreements with Ipswich Brewery and have spoken with Mill River Winery to vend. And I'm looking for your consent for a one-day event license and wine and malt, as well as an event permit. I've been planning events for over 25 years on various scales. And this one is the type of event where you would really see multi-generational people coming to the event. You'll see adults with their grown adult children and their grandchildren. The music that we have lined up is based in bluegrass and Americana and folk music. We've been very fortunate to secure David Grisman, who is a very famous mandolin bluegrass performer. And we're very excited to bring him to your town. I think that a lot of the people in the area would be really to enjoy it. And we plan on having, like a little farmer's market going on, pony rides, other, family-friendly events on the premises as well. And I do have a team. We have a professional security team just to make sure that everything goes well, as well as a production manager.
Questions by the board?
I guess I was, to say the least, a little taken aback by your proposal, nothing personal. But I mean, we recently, Mr. Sabatini established his barn with and the discussion at that time was that it would be available for 100 or so seats for weddings, small functions within the barn. And to be going from a 100-seat function to a 1,600-person outdoor is quite a jump for a residential area. And it's going to have a huge impact on the neighborhoods up there, obviously. I don't know, you mentioned, I assume it's still in this, about parking. There's basically no parking on the site, you've indicated.
There would be handicap parking on the site, and also for people that are actually working the event and vendors. We have made an arrangement with Steve Conley for him to actually have parking on his property. We really like this to be beneficial to, all businesses and farms in the area so that they can actually sell their food and, Steve can obviously charge for parking. I understand your concern. Honestly, for years I envisioned this being at Todd Farm. And, it's such a great property, but when I was doing my research, Bread Street Farm came up and I met with Mike and Michelle and Tiffany, and they were receptive to the idea. The barn would not actually have access, the public would not be allowed to go in there. This would also be a smoke-free event. We want to keep this, like I said, very family-friendly. And I realize it seems like a lot of people, but when you're at the space, I've done some measurements, and just sitting on the lawn in front of the barn, it gives each person 35 square feet to actually sit and enjoy music, sitting on a blanket, sitting in a lawn chair and listening to bluegrass.
How many parking spaces does Mr. Conley have?
He has room for 2,000 cars, which of course, we wouldn't need that many.
How far is the parking from?
It's a short walk, but I would want to have a police detail officer at 1A, making sure that everyone can cross safely.
Yeah, you would detail that.
Sure, yeah. As well as officers and a fire
So
detail
it's
on
you're
the
talking
farm.
about the lot right across from
Todd Farm.
Todd Farm?
Yes,
Steve Conley's lot.
correct.
Okay. And there's 2,000,
That was what I was actually told for the number of cars he can actually fit, but of course, when you're having 1,600 people and, you know, most of them are gonna be kids, you know, we're looking at a fraction. I figure that since Todd Farm will get 5,000 people on a Sunday morning, and, you know, they have a lot of ancillary parking, that will be okay in this area.
I was taken aback too when I read your letter. I think 1,600 people is, first of all, it's a big event for the town of Rowley. We're a small town, we're a small police department, small fire department. I think that essentially in this area would be very congested with that sort of gathering, and it's gonna last 10.5 hours.
So the gates would open at 11.
There's going to be alcohol being served. I'm not sure this is a good idea.
Well, I understand there's a cookout that Rowley does each year with, is there beer served at that as well?
Well, I don't think you get 1,600 people, I don't think it's for 10 hours.
There are events like this that are happening with
I
Unfarms
don't
in
think we've ever had an
Massachusetts.
event like this, have we?
The Independence Day celebration, is that what, with kids races on the
What,
common?
are we talking about the Independence Day on the common?
With the chili cookout, I was
No,
actually
oh,
looking
that's
through
what
your,
it's
yeah.
Oh, okay.
There's probably a couple of hundred,
Yeah.
maybe 300, I guess. I have never,
Yeah, in the 375th, the parade and everything, I don't think we had that.
I guess my concern, obviously, I mean, I'm not gonna go forward with anything tonight, but I mean, I think this is the first, I don't think the public has had any indication of this coming. I mean, the first time I saw it was when we got, I guess, the email from you and Debbie distributed it to us. I know if I lived in the neighborhood down there, I mean, it would, like I say, we're going from what was originally a 100-seat event to 1,600. And my guess would be that this will be the first of many events of this size. I mean, I'm not saying you're gonna do that necessarily, but once we open this door, I'm guessing that, and I certainly think that the neighbors deserve, they already put up with Todd Farm every Sunday from spring through late fall. And I'm not sure they're gonna be too happy about this event, particularly if you're want to be serving alcohol. And I understand people are tips trained and so on and so
Sure.
forth.
I mean, I have run similar events and, you know, also with.
The size of it, I think,
Sure.
is probably, in a, basically what is a residential neighborhood. And I think, you know, I have no problem with the events that take place in the barn. I think that's a sizable, for that piece of property, I think that's a sizable, that's fine, you know, for weddings and showers and whatever, those kind of functions for 100 or so people. To me, just, I mean, I definitely think we should have a hearing of some sort on this, and
Yes.
let neighbors come in and let them, because I find it hard to believe that these people are gonna be interested in having an event of this size in their neighborhood. And like I say, the other thing I'm afraid of is once we open this door, this property is gonna become, from being set aside as a farm, and then it stretches to be a farm to table function hall to major outdoor concert events. It's a big leap.
I realize that there are other farms doing,
No, I
you know,
understand
events
that.
like this in the area. I was just hoping to bring something fun to Rowley and,
I mean, if you're up at the Herrick Farm, I might say something different because it's a much wider area, much wider, I mean, they actually are haying and growing corn up there, but the idea that it's a farm, it's a farm that's been turned into a function hall. And now it's being turned into a major event, outdoor event venue that is just, I'm not sure what's left of the farm part of it.
Well, actually, you know, I had outlined where the crops would be and there would be produce for sale. And really, this was an idea, it's a dream, honestly, that I've had for years when I come up here, you know, on weekends. And this is the type of event that does belong on a farm, because we're dealing with Americana roots music. It's not loud rock, you know, it's not the Rolling Stones. We're talking about mandolins and banjos. And, you know, when it comes to tip certification, I actually have a police officer who I've worked with many times for several events. He, you know, handles all of the tips, certification with the, you know, people that come in for the IDing, and we make sure that people are behaving properly and that there's no public intoxication. You know, I had approached the farm about this. This was not something that
Right.
they had brought to me, but, you know, I think that it would be very beneficial to the town of Rowley, and it's one day a year. I understand your concern. I realize that for Bread Street Farm, I think one time each year would be enough for them.
Well, I mean, that's not your decision, though. That's-
Right. No, I
That's the
mean,
people that are running
no, I
the
understand.
farm there, and,
Why do you say be limited to 1,600 people? I mean, would you control the number of people that are there? at any
Yes, there would
time?
only be a limited number of tickets that would be sold.
Are you gonna check for alcohol when people?
Absolutely. So there's a team I work with, they're called Wizard Security. And Jeff, who is a proprietor, he's about 72, he's been doing this for 45 years. He actually handles all the security for large events that take place on the Boston Plaza. And he would have his team of people. We would have no coolers allowed in, no alcohol allowed in, no drugs, you know, making sure that people come in orderly fashion, and also maintaining the crowd. And, you know, I have to reiterate, kids, you know, and most of the people that we have that would be performing, you know, David Grissman is in his 70s, and the people that follow him, you know, are going to be coming with their adult kids and their little grandkids. It's that type of an event. And of course, people will want to have a beer in the sun and, you know, have some local corn on the cob and, you know, sandwiches that are made from, you know, chicken that's raised locally. But the idea is to, you know, also bring some revenue to the businesses and farmers that are here.
I'm just concerned about the number of people, 1,600 in that area.
Is there a process for setting up a hearing?
Well,
Or to
as
have
I
the
spoke to Ms.
abutters come in,
Manahan,
or-
well, there'd be an entertainment license required, and then a one-day liquor license. And
We'd have to clear it with the police department and fire also.
well, you, as you customarily
Yeah,
do,
customarily.
ask for their recommendations.
Right.
But, so it's in the statute, and I've given that to Ms. Manahan, so you can schedule a hearing.
Oh, you can, the statute says that,
I believe so, yes.
but it's not required, I guess it's optional.
No, I think, I would have to
Yeah.
check that again, but
But we need to talk about the fact that, don't we, that some of these planned activities would be within the town's right of way?
So, actually, the check-in point for people as they walked up the driveway, it would allow cars that are going to the gardens on the town land to actually access the garden. And then we would actually protect the town land with, basically, just some little fencing, snow fencing, essentially.
But,
Mr. Chairman, in the statute, it does say, within 45 days following receipt of an application for a license under this section, the licensing authorities may, A, grant a license, or B, shall provide the opportunity for a hearing on the application by written notice to the applicant given 7 days prior to the hearing.
I think, you know, my concern is the neighborhood up there needs to have the opportunity to present their arguments for and against before the board here.
Send a notice to abutters.
No, which would, yeah, I'm not sure what the technical requirements are. I mean, I live on the other side of town, so it's not gonna bother me, but
right,
if, you know, I think it's a huge event. I mean, it's much much bigger than what we would anticipate taking place in basically even though it's on a farm, there's a lot of residents up in that area, residential area. And like I say, they already put up with Todd Farm every Sunday. And we often get complaints from Todd Farm issues for parking and so on and so forth. So I think we need to take some time and get together with the police chief and probably the fire chief to make sure that, and plus you got Board of Health issues if you're serving
Sure.
food, right?
Well, 2 weeks from tonight is Memorial Day. 2 weeks from today.
Well, it's not till August.
Yeah,
So
So,
Would you,
the only issue
the first Monday night in June, or when do
There's
you want
just,
to?
they're waiting for contact.
Excuse me.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was just telling him that some of the performers that we have lined up are just waiting for confirmation of whether or not we can proceed.
Well, the first time we can hold it, that was the first of June. So.
It would be, well, what's the first Monday in June?
Fourth.
Fourth?
So would we put a notice in the newspaper? That would seem to be a minimal requirement anyway.
Well, I think the abutters need to be advised at a minimum. I mean, I'm concerned mostly about the abutters. I mean, I'm concerned about the size of the event and the effect it's gonna have on the abutters. That's my biggest concern. I mean, like you said, we do things in the common. We've never had a problem with the library who's run the chili cook-offs. But this is probably 5 or 6 times bigger. It certainly goes for 10 in the morning or 11, and start probably gathering up there by 10 in the morning and go till 10 or 11 o'clock at night. So, I mean, it's a long, this isn't just coming in for 2 hours and then everybody goes home. It's a long duration event.
It is a long day.
So I think the neighbors and the ability of the police department to cover what they're gonna need to cover is gonna be an issue. The fire department is probably gonna be involved in terms of access and safety and ambulance and so on and so forth. So I mean, I think it's something we need to look at every aspect of this before we do a final. Okay.
Music would end abruptly at 9:30, so that we can actually have everyone leave the premises. And, coming to Todd Farm each week, it's really, about a third of the people that are coming to Todd Farm on a Sunday morning, from 6 a.m. to 3.
So would you like to schedule that for the?
Yes, if that's feasible. June 1st?
June 4th.
No, 4th.
June 4th? Well, my question is, how are we gonna notify abutters? Newspaper notice, or, I mean, it's not like a normal public hearing where I don't think a notice to abutters is legally required, individual notices, but it seems to me a newspaper notice was something that at a minimum we should do.
Well, I think the rules that we would have for a one-day liquor license we're gonna require letters to the abutters within
Oh, okay.
500 feet, is that what?
No,
No?
not for one day. Not
Not
for one
for
day.
one day?
No.
Okay, well, I mean,
That's solely reviewed by the police chief. So I would recommend that the board review chapter 140,
Yeah,
183A, because there is a process on how the selectmen would approve this or deny this and what the reasons would be, and it's very clear, and if it's also taken up with another license.
well, I would suggest that the owner of the property, Mr. Sabatini, might go around and deliver, something along the event, like something similar to this, to all the neighborhood up there, so that we just want to give people a fair warning, and even putting in the newspaper, 3 people in town buy the newspaper, so I mean, that doesn't do much. We can put it on the town website, as far as, the hearing, that we will be having a hearing. It's not a legal hearing per se, but it certainly gives people a chance to make their interest. And I would suggest that you contact the police chief ASAP because that's the next critical issue is police, fire, and ambulance coverage, so that, I'd rather not see the town have to hire 4 or 5 extra policemen for the day.
Well, I'm
Time
assuming
and time and a
the
half.
town's not gonna have to do that, right?
Well, no,
It's-
what I'm saying, what I think is, they're gonna hire a police officer to get people across the street,
Right.
but are you gonna hire police to man the intersection down there by the church?
I had actually planned to hire police detail officers to be on the property as
Okay,
well as a fire.
well, what I'm saying is, the police chief needs to absolutely give us a recommendation based on a discussion with you. But I think he's gonna be looking for other coverage. You got that many people coming in town for an all-day affair with alcohol. I mean,
That's a large number for crowd control.
It's just,
That's in his venue.
but I'm looking at the intersection, the intersection down there at Church Street and 1A, which is down by the drugstore, that intersection there.
Sure.
That backs up there real quick now. The light's got a problem with the sequence or something since they fixed the water out there. It may be done, all set by August, but, yeah, I mean, whatever due diligence you can do before our next meeting would be certainly helpful.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, good luck.
Thank you.
I want to mention something Chairman Pierce started to bring to the attention. I was asked to provide the color imagery today due to the fact that I have those printing capabilities. Because the Conservation Commission is in a butter with our conservation land and the community gardens there, I noticed there was an inadvertent error of omission. In fact, that the proposed town right-of-way for the cul-de-sac was not on the plan, so you're probably not aware of this. I provided supplemental information to the Board of Selectmen this evening by the fact that your aerial imagery appeared to be exactly the same scale as the subdivision plan.
And I think, it made some additional copies, so there was a copy available.
Give this to Melanie.
So this is the a section of the recorded subdivision plan, which I use the high-tech methodology of comparing the size of that building, finding that it was exactly the same. So I held it up to the window, and your information was unaware and not acknowledging the fact that this is the right-of-way that the subdivision plan has carved out. So that's actually town property.
Okay.
Now, obviously, you're free because I am not a professional engineer or draft person, so you are free to utilize whatever professional services you need to actually verify the accuracy of that. But like I said, I just held it up to the window, and the bond building was exactly the same size as that, so I traced it using the writing instrument methodology with backlighting.
Excuse me, you have listed here food vendors. Where? 4 of them?
3, and then there'd be additional food vendors, so 3 for main meals, and then there'd be others who'd be providing kettle corn, pickles,
Do you
apples.
have any food vendors yet?
I would like to keep it local, and of course, everything would be from, locally sourced farms.
Just need to make sure there's enough food.
Oh, sure, well, that's very important. Generally, you need 1 vendor per 500 people.
So we'll have you on the agenda for Monday night,
Yes.
June.
That's right, and if we could get some clarification on this legal notice that the board is asking, we don't do that for a one-day liquor license. So who's gonna put that in the paper and pay for the cost?
Well, like I said, if there's no legal requirement, I'm not sure that the newspaper advertisement is gonna really notify. I'm more concerned that
Do others. I
we
could send
take
a letter.
responsibility that the people living in the area there, the abutters, or, I would go further than just a regular, I would go up, say up to American Barbecue anyway, and some of the back roads there, because if they're charging $5 a car, you can be sure that there will be people who will be parking on every back street they can to avoid paying $5. So, it's just a natural. Out on the Todd Farm for years, we've been fighting with people paying parking tickets on 1A rather than pay the. So I think we got the fines up high enough where we probably don't have too much of a problem anymore. But it's parking and so on and so forth is one of my main concerns for the abutters. So that's why I'm saying if you can fairly widely circulate the information, if we put a notice, I guess we could put a notice on the town website. If that's doable.
Would the board like us to draft up a public hearing notice and mail it to the abutters,
Probably the best way.
Well, if you want to do that, but I think that the mailing should be done at the expense of either the property
applicant,
owner or
okay.
the person running the show. I mean, we're trying to keep this.
So if we drafted it up, a notice,
Why don't
and
you,
I
pay
emailed
for
it to
postage, sure.
Miss
yeah, why don't you do that,
Ann,
if you can do that?
and she could pop over and get the assessor's records from the assessor.
In whatever other way you can. I know my wife reads the Rowley Talks. Put something on there, let people know what's coming. In other words, any way you can. And like I said, the newspaper to me is kind of a waste of time. We don't get much Rowley news in the newspaper to begin with. So I'm not sure how many subscribers they actually have in Rowley, which would to make a difference. So any other way we can notify people of the hearing. I mean, I'm sure you'd be wanting to do the same thing. If you end up getting the okay, you want these people to be aware of it anyway for their intended, so.
A question towards you. If it's American Barbecue in one direction, how far do you want me to go in the opposite direction? Like down to the intersection? Down to the intersection that you're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, that's up to you. I'm not saying you have to go
As a
American
suggestion.
Barbecue, but just there's not many, I mean, Hammond Street would probably be, some of the,
Okay.
not so much the main street as it is, I mean, you got some houses across from the farm there, those residents, but you
Yeah.
got people on Hammond Street and Cross Street.
Pleasant Street, sort of.
So some of those, maybe up as far as, I mean, when we had issues with Todd Farm, Warehouse Lane and Railroad Avenue were high areas of complaint on Sundays for Todd Farm, so, it's up to you, but I mean, we just want to make sure that as many people know about it as can. Maybe nobody will show up, they don't care, that's fine, but I think they deserve to be notified, particularly with an event of this size. And it sounds like you maybe, if it's successful, you'll be planning on doing it again
Hello.
in the future. So this is gonna be an ongoing situation, probably.
Bernie?
Yeah, I'm on the other side of town, so I'm not going to be immediately impacted. And I think the concerns that everybody has spoken about are genuine concerns. I mean, they're all legitimate. I would want to kind of put a somewhat more positive view of the whole event, because we're known for Todd Farm, and there's no reason why we shouldn't be known for bluegrass as well. I mean, I think there's a positive aspect to it, and I'm concerned that even if this one doesn't succeed, we don't want to kind of create an atmosphere of saying we're saying no to these efforts. I mean, I think each and every concern that's been raised have been genuine. I would rather people leave this meeting with a belief that there's hope that it will get done, rather than the opposite. Because you guys are miseries.
I'll admit to being a fan of bluegrass music and for
Me too.
a bit. And I
So you
enjoy
would
it.
come.
I know someone could get you free tickets.
But we just want to make sure that the people that are most affected is the neighborhoods. I mean, like I said, I live on the other side of town, whether you're there or not, and I'm not a bluegrass fan, so I probably won't be there. But, you know, it's a matter of the neighbors in the area having the ability to express their opinions
And what the police chief has to say.
and what, you know, how you work out the details of
Impact.
police and fire. and-
Mr. Chairman, we will disseminate the, Ms. Mahan's application and to the department heads that normally routinely review these
Right.
and ask for their comments prior to the hearing, and if Ms. Manahan wants to follow up and address any concerns they're bringing up, then she'll have time to do that between now and the hearing.
Okay.
June 4th.
June
Very good.
4th.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hey, John.
Thank you. Thank you, Brent.
Thank you.
We don't need Brent anymore, do we?
Further service to the board?
No, I think
Thank you, Brent.
we're good, thanks.
Thank you very
Brent.
much.
Thank you, Brent.
Appreciate your support.
Okay, going on with the agenda, we have general business number 1, and we have an invitation from the Rowley Veterans Association to attend the Giles E. Hardy Scholarship Ceremony on May 20th, 2018. Dear members, sponsors, family, and friends, please join us on Sunday, May 20th, 2018 at 2 p.m. in the Rowley Veterans Association Hall as we award Charles E. Hardy scholarships to 5 deserving local students. Jamie Cimitaro, Byfield, Triton Regional High School; Thomas Herron, Ipswich, Ipswich High School; Ryan Batcher, Salisbury, Triton Regional High School; Nicole Kelly, Georgetown, Georgetown High School; Kenneth Hodge, Newburyport, Newburyport High School. A meet and greet reception with the students and Representative Brad Hill will follow the award ceremony. Sincerely, Steve Morris, President, Rowley Veterans Association. That's Sunday, May 20th, 2018, at 2 p.m. at the Rowley Veterans Association Hall.
You're also, you can.
Thank you.
General business number 2, we have a review of road opening permits, applications from National Grid to open the following roads: 6 Walnut Drive for gas installation, 9 Walnut Drive for gas installation, and 43 Weathersfield Street for gas installation. And that following our procedures, the road opening permits were signed off by the staff for the locations listed above. Any comments? Nope. Thank you. Okay, old business number 1, we have an update on the fire station, police station addition project. David?
Yeah, everything's moving along quite well. The structural steel is all up. The floor has been poured for the police station. I think this week they'll be pouring the floor for the administrative section of the fire department. And everything is moving along. In fact, I think we're kind of catching up a little bit on the schedule that was delayed because of the bad weather during the winter, so it's going quite well. As far as the recreation goes, we've got some real tight parking up there. I talked to Tim Southall the other day. I've talked to the contractor, and it's kind of like people need to understand that it is what it is, and Tim has made some accommodations to expand the parking a little bit, but it is short, there's no doubt about it. I came by there the first couple of weeks. The first week they couldn't use the Little League field right on Havel Street, so that created a little extra. I come by tonight coming down here, and there was adequate parking for the vehicles that were in the parking lot. So other than the parking situation, the team seemed to have adjusted to the fact that a little tougher getting around up there, and it's going okay. Any complaints I get, I call Tim, or Tim calls me, and we work them out. So far, so good.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Okay. Old business number 2, we have the Pine Grove School project update and signed notice to proceed with W.T. Rich. The project has been moving along at a good pace. Debbie has submitted the Comcast work order. While under construction, the building will still need internet access. The existing Comcast fiber network will need to be modified during construction. Comcast will also be updating the current system. Chairman Perry needs to sign the notice to proceed letter to W.T. Rich. The board voted on the W.T. Rich gross maximum price contract amendment back on April 9th, 2018. So that means we don't have to vote, or we do have to take a vote to sign it.
Apparently, that motion was already done at the April 9th meeting when you signed the, voted on the contract and approved it, subsequently signed it. So this is a housekeeping measure that we needed to do. So as we understood, this was already authorized.
Comment, Larry?
All that was stated is correct. And I will add that we are proceeding expeditiously on a variety of fronts up at the school. And we haven't run into any roadblocks.
I noticed there's more fencing around the parking area
The
right from the street.
entire perimeter is segregated, and internally, the contractor has set up for the next phase of exterior work. The area of the old gardens in the back of the school, that area has also been segregated from the school children, and as soon as some materials that are on order arrive, they'll start to install the drainage structures that go behind the school, and quite frankly, it gives them a little bit of a jump on what will transpire in front of the school come summertime. And then in the meantime, we're pushing forward on the interior spaces. New trade is now on site, plumber, so they're starting the underground for the new kitchen. Electrician has been in the building working, extending the conduits for the new services, including the Comcast rework inside the AP room. And the plumber, as I said, is on site and starting to do layout and installation of underground for the new kitchen area.
Very good.
As far as we know, the lunch program and in the gym is working out okay. We haven't had any negative feedback on that?
I have not been told anything negative, and there's more than enough room. The paving that we put down for both that as well as town meeting seems to be working very well. The van is able to pull in and back right up to the gymnasium door, deliver meals. So I was with Christine last Friday. Is our weekly construction meeting, and there was no issues brought up as it related to that program or any of the other interfaces between construction and the school.
Oh, that's great. Good.
Just to offer an update that we do have a school building committee meeting, full committee meeting on Thursday night.
Correct.
At
6:30.
6:30. And then and every Friday morning, there is a construction meeting at 9, roughly until about 10:30.
Thursday's big item will be requisition number 1 from the contractor, which after it goes to school building committee, will be brought before the board on the following Monday. Actually, no, because it's, we still have one.
We have a meeting on Monday.
We still have one more meeting before.
One more meeting.
We're in no hurry to spend the
Before-
money, so take your time.
Okay. I'll pass that. I'll look to see if I can find something more.
That won't go too far.
Thank you, Larry.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, we have new business. Approve the town liquor license application guidelines for notification to abutters and others form. The attached guidelines for notification to abutters and others form was created to guide liquor license applicants through their responsibility for notifying abutters and others of their application under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 15A. Please let us know if you have any comments or questions about these guidelines. We would like to provide applicants with these guidelines going forward once they are approved by the Board of Selectmen.
No, this is on our meeting. No, we can do it. This is for a pouring license or package store,
Oh,
like a
okay.
restaurant. It's
Not
not
a
for one
one-day.
day. No,
Okay.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
These have been approved.
So,
Is that
Mr. Chairman,
child-
and I'll let Amy speak on this. You know, sometimes we have a liquor license applicant, you know, even the modification or alteration of premises we've had with
Oh,
recently.
yes, yes.
And there seems to be some confusion on the abutters, so why don't you explain
Just
why
the type
you...
of mailing that needs to happen, there's often many questions that come up, and we just point them to the law, because that's ultimately what.
And who has to be notified and what
Mhm.
what should be contained in the notification.
And so, and this is for the, you know, this is for full liquor licenses, not one-day liquor
Right,
licenses
yeah.
that we were talking about. This would be for, like I said, a pouring or a package store, wine and malt, pouring or package store. We just did one for down the street, the wine and malt. We had a public hearing on that recently, where Amy was working for the attorney for the convenience store down the street to get the confirmation that the abutters had been notified in accordance with the statute, which was registered mail.
And they're annual licenses, starting with the annual,
Right.
Yes,
For the
these,
full
not the
year.
fiscal year, this is annual.
Right.
that's right. So we
January
thought we would come up with some instructions that, and Amy looked at a couple of different examples
Yeah,
from
this, I
other.
believe it's from Boston, I tweaked a little bit to fit around.
Do you want to put it off for,
When do you need to have it approved tonight? I haven't had a chance to look at it.
No, that's certainly, if you need time and want to make recommendations, that's fine.
when would you like it on? It's your choice.
Monday's meeting?
Sure. If you'd like to reconcile that to the statute, you can see.
Yeah, right.
That's what we're trying to
Right.
spell out.
We need a motion to table that till Monday, or?
I'll make a motion to table it till Monday.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to table the guidelines for, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
I do have a question, Debbie, on the one-day licenses. Historically, we've always had small functions. Ever since I've been on the board, I don't recall, other than the fish cook-off, which twice has been outside, it's always been, you know, indoor at the St. Mary's Hall or whatever. Do we have the ability to have some rules regarding, like, notification of abutters, et cetera, for one-day license, or is that something that's not allowed by law?
No,
Oh, I'm just concerned, and Mrs. Sabatini's here now, I'm just concerned that, you know, if we're gonna be starting, once we start one of these functions, I mean, in the past, we've had other areas in town that have kind of talked about having large functions with all this kind of stuff, and the plans fell through. I'm just concerned that as we move forward, if we're gonna be getting more and more of these bigger functions, that I just feel it's critically important that, you know, abutters be notified, whether we have to have a gentleman's agreement or gentleman and ladies agreement process to do that, or whether it needs to be a regulation of the board. I don't know. I'm not sure of the process to move forward with, but I think it's something we need to take a look at, not necessarily tonight, but.
we could certainly look into it, and also, there's also many instances where the local licensing authority isn't involved if the license is given straight from the ABCC, and that can happen as well. And the farmer winery, that's not issued to the municipality. So you have many examples of where there's, you know, no local, decision-making in some of that, so.
But the ABCC notifies us that it has taken place, right? I mean, we don't just get all of a sudden someone's,
No, I believe they get caterers have a state license.
They can.
So we wouldn't know that.
all right,
So we can certainly look into
it
it.
would seem to me that on any kind of liquor license things, that we should at least be advised even. I mean, I don't know what the state law is, so I'm not, if it's not in the state law, I think it's a courtesy to the town to notify us that, and then notify the abutters. I don't know what, like the winery, I remember going through the process with the winery up in, you know, Route 1. which wasn't a problem, but I mean, I don't remember what we did, how we handled that. I don't recall, I'm getting old. But just as we move forward, and there may be other and it's just something that I think we need to be aware of. And that, you know, like I say, I'm concerned. Of course, the winery, they serve, they have functions there they serve wine, right?
There's a pouring license that the
The
board
pouring
issues
license.
to
See, if you're
that.
pouring, if you're just doing samples was one thing, but when you're doing pouring, I just think it's something that the neighborhood, depending on where it is, should be advised.
They came before us for a license for the outdoor areas.
Right. Yeah, I remember we had
I'm not sure why that happened,
But it's just like, we could take a look at it just for,
Thank you. My name is Tiffany. I don't know if we've actually met, but I run the events portion of Brad Street Farm. And we work with all licensed caterers and bartenders to make sure that they're actually licensed at the state level. At this point, I'll go on the record as saying Rowley doesn't have any sort of guidelines that would make us come to you folks, but I'd be more than happy to open the communication up directly to Debbie to let her know when we have an event. They're all capped for 5 hours. We follow state law, Mass state law. So I'd be happy to let you know each and every time we do it. Right now, we don't have that many, I'll be honest.
do other towns require?
You know, I'll be honest, it really
I don't know.
varies town by town, and they follow the state law. You're 100% right with the Massachusetts, the alcohol boards, they follow state law. We do go before some board of selectmen in certain towns and municipalities to apply for a one-day license, but when there's no cash exchange that day, it's usually not required, even on the, you know, the bigger scales in like Boston and such. Because it's a wedding or it's a
Yeah, it's usually a function.
Yeah. If it's a cash or cash is exchanging hands, that's a whole different animal. But we do still work with the licensed bartenders that come from the licensing is at the state level.
When you have a
So-
function at the farm,
Yes.
the Brad Street now, what is do you normally serve liquor? It's like a cash bar, or
It is not. We don't allow for a cash bar at a private event. And
But
what
they can
this-
supply their own liquor.
Right, exactly. So just as you go to a normal wedding or a backyard barbecue and you're not going to be, you know, opening the cooler and
Right,
dropping
right.
a 5 in,
Yeah.
it's the same sort of thing. But it's not self-serve.
Right,
You know, it's
yeah,
all
I
through
understand that.
There's
licensed
always a licensed
bartenders.
bartender,
I
certainly.
just think it's, you know, if you got any information.
And you know, I would be happy.
We're trying to work with people, this is something new
Yeah.
for all of us, so
Yeah,
I'd
and I
like to
have
make sure
10 years
moving
of
forward.
experience doing this all over New England.
Yeah.
I'd be more than happy to sit in on conversations and let you guys know what I know from doing this for so long and
Okay.
kind of help you steer you towards, you know, maybe you do have a one-day license requirement in town.
Well, we do, we have a process, we have an approved form, and it goes through the vetting process.
Right, but even on the
yours-
smaller scale, private events.
I just wanna make sure
You're saying there's an exception for now for a larger event.
Well, I don't know,
what
I'm not
you
sure, I
think.
know, I just wanna make sure we're covered, so that
Yeah.
in the future, and it's not just Mr. Sabatini's, but,
Right,
you know, there's other large farms that may decide that, or even not a farm, but
anything,
somebody
yeah.
has a big piece of property, they wanna run a concert or you know, some sort of a get-together and serve liquor, I think. And we
But
just-
please do know that I'd be
If we
happy to
cover it ahead of
sit
time, I
with you
think we're
guys.
better off than coming up trying to, like
Yeah.
tonight, we're looking, well, what are we,
The
what's the
town-
rules?
The town council said they would need a one-day liquor license.
okay.
That's what he said, so we have that process.
Okay, as long as
So
we know we're covered, that's all.
We can check the statute and say, is it based on the number of people, but I mean, I've reviewed that and I've never seen,
Well, did
you know,
the
I
town say
think there's
why-
conditions that would be added on to address any concerns you
Okay,
have.
so did the town say why they needed the license, or even go into the?
It would be based on what Ms. Manahan presented, she had said, she was having beer and wine at this event, so when he looked at this, he said, you know, it's an entertainment license and a one-day liquor license.
It's also exchange of money at the event. They're purchasing liquor at that, or wine and
Which
malts.
makes it different.
Makes it different.
It's a different animal.
In your experience with the different towns, would help us to
Absolutely.
develop some.
Yeah, and I'd be more than happy to volunteer
That
my
would be
time
great.
and sit with you
Okay, no,
folks.
thank you, we just, it's an
Yeah.
educational process for us too at this
Yeah,
point.
absolutely.
We wanna do it right.
Yeah.
And we don't wanna hold people up unnecessarily because of
Yeah,
questions and concerns.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, going on to new business number 2, approve the town entertainment license application form. Would I be correct in assuming that you'd like to put that one?
No, I think this.
I'd like to ask a question,
Yeah.
Mr. Cliff.
Okay.
Can we have a question on there about, do you intend to serve liquor? or alcohol.
I think that we're pretty clear at the bottom of the form where it's in bold print, you must obtain a one-day liquor license
Yeah.
from the Board of Selectmen in order to any alcohol to be permitted at this event.
Oh, okay, I didn't read the last page.
Yeah.
So this is, once again, this is an entertainment
Okay.
for concert type.
Right, okay.
And when Ms. Vanahan presented it, and we didn't have a form, and the town's attorney said, this is under chapter 14183A, you know, I said to Tom that maybe we should develop an application form, and we can ask Ms. Vanahan to fill it in retroactively if the board wanted to, but
Okay.
her letter covered, I gave her the statute, and I said, just make sure you cover everything that's in the statute, and I think she pretty much did. But if you wanted her to have the formality of just throwing that out, if the board so approves it tonight, that's fine.
It looks good to me.
No, it looks fine.
And certainly we can amend this from time to time.
$25 fee enough?
Well, we suggested that,
I would suggest 50 instead of
you
25,
know,
but other
I
than
don't know
that.
if we were looking at the town of
Well, I mean, it
Essex,
takes
they
time
had
for people to go through
$25
the-
fee, Essex did, they're a similar size. But certainly that's your
Right.
decision.
Otherwise, I have no problem.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the town entertainment license application form. All those in favor say aye.
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 Mr. Chairman, well, just to clarify, would this apply to Ms. Vanahan since she already submitted her letter?
Yeah, I think I don't think it makes,
Okay.
at this point, doesn't make much
Okay.
difference.
Where she's covered most of everything.
She's covered everything
Okay.
anyway, and I think we're better off if we go to the
Certainly,
next function
going forward, this
rather
will be
than-
the form.
yeah.
Perfect, and the fee. Thank you.
Okay. And under new business number 3, request from town council Crown Castle to approve the modification of AT&T's equipment at the cell tower at 124 Haverhill Street. AT&T is requesting to replace 3 existing antennae and cables and add remote radio unit and diplexers. This request has been reviewed by the planning board. The planning board determined that it does not require either site plan or special permit approval. The board needs to vote to approve the option and license consent for modification and to authorize Chairman Pierce to sign it.
Yeah, I'll give you a motion to approve it.
Second. I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the modification of AT&T's equipment. All those in favor say aye.
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 So is this on, is this on
Bernie?
Prospect Hill?
Yes.
Yes.
And are they gonna put some uninterruptible power source up there this time?
The
Is
question
that
comes
within
up every
our-
time there's a power outage, and you get people in Rowley, I know, were very upset when their cell phones didn't work. But people have to understand that if the cell phone companies are gonna put power, there's probably 200 towers in Massachusetts. They'd have to put a generator at each one. On top of that, in the middle of a snowstorm, when it runs out of fuel, they'd have to get up the hill to refuel it. And it's just, it's not practical. I mean, people have to understand that sometimes the cell phones aren't gonna
I
work.
think Verizon does.
I think, I think AT&T has a generator up there, I think. Somebody has a generator up there, I know that.
Okay.
But I don't know if it's, you know, I don't, wasn't the failure
The
of...
town probably has, the town that.
Well, the town does, has its communications
Yeah.
there, and it's my understanding Verizon Wireless does.
Yeah.
This is an amendment to the consent agreement to replace 3 existing antenna, and so they're putting some new ones on.
That's
After the planning board determined that it's not gonna change the height or
That's right.
significantly the appearance, so, you know, just equipment, basically.
They're just part of their upgrading and maintaining their equipment.
Okay. We have minutes from the March 12th, 2018 Board of Selectmen meeting.
I do a motion to approve the March 12th, 2018 minutes.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the March 12th, 2018 minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And just before I go into the announcements, I would ask everyone, I know we don't want a quorum, but we don't have to discuss anything, but Wednesday night, the school committee is meeting to propose to vote on a new budget for the new, what's the word I'm looking for? A new assessment to the town, the three towns. And so they will be voting that on Wednesday night at 7 o'clock at the Triton Library. And please feel free to attend.
I should be there, as far as I know.
Okay. We have, for announcements, the Friends of the Council on Aging is sponsoring a shoe drive from mid-April to mid-May at the Town Hall Annex, 39 Central Street. Paired footwear such as the following may be deposited in the container at the Annex parking lot. Shoes, boots, work boots, sandals, slippers, flip-flops, heels, sneakers, pocketbooks, purses, backpacks, and belts. The Friends of the Council on Aging to hold an annual bake sale and craft fair at the Town Hall Annex parking lot on May 19th, 2018. The information on the Pine Grove School project is available on the town's website at www.townofrowley.net. The town has the following vacancies: Planning Board Associate, Agricultural Commission Associate, Fence Viewer, 3 positions, Wood Lumber and Bark Inspector, Zoning Board of Appeals Associate, 3 seats, Parks and Recreation Committee, 1 seat, and Deputy Shellfish Constable, 2 positions. For more information on these positions, please contact the Selectman's Office at 948-2372. The Rowley Food Pantry is in need of donations. Donations can be left at the Rowley Public Library. The food pantry is open on Tuesdays from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. and on Thursdays from 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. Motion to adjourn.
Before I give you a motion to adjourn, Mr.
Yes.
Chairman, I'd like to thank you for the last 2 years of your tenure as chairman. You did a really great job as chairman, and it's a really difficult position to be in. And there's a lot of things that people don't see that the chairman of the board takes part in. So I want to thank you for your leadership these past 2 years.
I appreciate that, Bob. It has taken a lot of time, but I have appreciated the support of all the members of the board, and it's a learning experience as well as being having the duties involved.
I think I have a lot to learn, actually.
Well, you have a lot of people who have
It seems like a daunting challenge
experience.
at this point, but yeah, I want to thank you too for.
Yep.
Well, we look forward to working with you on the,
Yeah, I hope so.
as you assume the chairmanship.
Same here.
Job well done, Joe.
Thank you.
With that, I'll give you a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Motion has been made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye.